Benvenuti. Welcome to 101 Ways to Transform the Way You Cook. You're listening to Carmela d'Amore, and this is my kitchen. I'm going to share with you today. We are in episode 14, Dry Herbs. I'll read to you and then we'll discuss a bit. Start with herbs that you use in cooking. There is no use in having a spice rack that only accumulates dust. Start with the best. Utilize herbs and spices in your food to flavor instead of too much salt. Salt is good. I use Sicilian salt. That is iodized. This is great for my thyroid. One of the best ways to reduce our salt intake is by eating fresh, unprocessed food and including more fruit and vegetables in our daily regimen. Eating too much salt can lead to high blood pressure. So dry herbs. Sometimes, depending on the seasons, because I talk about in the next upcoming ones about building your own herb garden. But sometimes we don't have the herbs that we need, and we need dry herbs, because I do use dry herbs. I use dry basil, thyme, fennel, sage, and parsley. Parsley doesn't have the flavour. Sometimes it's more just for the look. But I've got parsley at the moment that's been growing all year round. I've cut it down and underneath I've got new roots growing, and so I utilise that. I've got a little pots, and I put all my herbs in those pots in the back garden, and believe you me, I do have the time. Even if I've got to get up early, I do love my fresh herbs. But there's no use in having a spice rack if you don't utilise those herbs, because they've been sitting there for a year, 2 years. And some people I've got a pantry full of herbs and they don't use any of them because they've followed a recipe and then it doesn't go in with what they're cooking. So what's the purpose of having that if you've just cooked it for once? Use herbs that you're going to utilise and cook with the food that you like. Not what other people like, but the food that you like. Finding and discovering the kinds of foods that you like is great, because then you get to be in control of the kind of food and the kind of spices that you want to put into your food. And that's fun, because it's exploring and discovering ways of finding your own palate and what you like and changing. I love different types of foods. I love Mexican, I love Asian, I love Chinese, Greek, I love Turkish food. Oh, I love Turkish. I love Lebanese, I love Italian food. I love all different types because they all bring something delicious and fresh to the table. So discover the kinds of herbs that you like to cook with and utilise that. That'll save you a lot of money. Some people just have too many herbs in the spice rack and just accumulates dust. Iodized salt. I'll show you my Sicilian salt. This is what I use. I love that. And I cook with this in my restaurant and in my cooking classes, and I even sell that in my restaurant. And it comes all the way from Sicily, and it's actually been imported, believe it or not, by Inoteco Silano. And they are in Lygon Street, Carlton. And I actually buy a few things from them in my restaurant and for my cooking classes. Ciao, Inoteca. I hope you're all well. And they have a number if you want me to give it to you. It's 9389 7000. And they're in 920 Lygon Street, Carlton North. And the name is Inoteca Silano. And you can email them on info@inoteca.com.au, and they've got a website which is www.inoteca, teca.com.au, and they sell this, and they deliver me this. I get it in boxes, so it's really, really wonderful, and it comes all the way from Sicily, from the town of Trapani, and Trapani is where all the sea salt is. Massive sea salt on the edge of the border, just after Palermo, going to Marsala area. Don't get me started. It is absolutely one of the most beautifulest towns, and the sea salt has been going for centuries there in that water. And you've got to try this sea salt. It's absolutely beautiful. I won't go into more detail, but I'll let you go there. And so if we implement more fresh vegetables and more fresh fruits, we actually don't need a lot of salt when we cook, because the freshness of the food doesn't need a lot of salt because the food is alive. It's fresh. So we might need just a little trace here and there, but you won't need it. And the less you cook with salt, the more you get to taste the food and the textures and the flavors that the food has to offer you. Believe me, I do this. It's because it becomes a habit that you want to have the salt. But if you don't cook with the salt and you just slowly get your taste textures and your taste buds going towards the freshness of the food, slowly, within a couple of weeks, you actually won't cook with a lot of salt at all. You'll only use it here and there. So, dry herbs, and we're going to go into cooking, making your own herb garden. So thank you for joining me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram. Press the button, subscribe. Ciao. Next one.